People say I don't care. They say I'm mean. They don't understand my issues, but my mind is different. My name is Tommy Fisher, and I'm fascinated by life, death, and power. My mom is white, and my dad is black, so being mixed, I never felt the need to pick a side when it comes to race. But growing up, my mind always wandered, especially when it came to God and the concept of His presence. I often wondered how people in church could pray all day and nothing would happen, yet someone involved in evil practices could pray and immediately summon spirits. That contrast got me thinking about church, about prayer, and about the way the world works in terms of faith and power. As I grew older, those questions stayed with me, always bubbling up when I found myself in church or around people who spoke about God like they knew Him personally. I'd watch them pray, hands lifted, eyes closed, lost in their words, and nothing seemed to change. It was like they were waiting for some kind of sign or miracle, but the air stayed still, and their faith didn't seem to move mountains like they said it would. But then, I'd hear stories about people who dabbled in the dark side of things, those who practiced rituals or invoked spirits, and the way they spoke, the way they acted, it seemed like power was at their fingertips. No waiting. No questions. They'd call on forces, and things would happen right then and there. It made me wonder if there was something I wasn't seeing. Why did prayer in church seem so empty, while evil seemed to have an instant connection to power? I started pulling away from the idea of a God who only showed up when it was convenient, or who played by rules that didn't always make sense. It felt like there had to be more to the picture. Something deeper. Maybe people were praying in the wrong way, or maybe they were missing something essential. Maybe God wasn't the only force out there. Maybe there were other powers, other paths to take, and people just weren't brave enough to explore them. As my mind wandered further, I began questioning everything: the rules, the rituals, the beliefs I'd been taught. I wondered if there was a way to connect with a power I felt was real, but in a way that made sense to me, not just what others told me to believe. It wasn't about choosing sides anymore. It was about finding the truth for myself, even if it meant stepping away from the comfort of what I had always known. I started questioning the pastors, asking them about the things I couldn't wrap my mind around. I wanted answers, real answers, something that connected the dots between what I felt deep inside and what they preached on Sundays. But every time I asked, it felt like I hit a brick wall of ignorance. They'd speak in circles, brushing off my questions with vague answers or just telling me to have faith. But that wasn't enough. I wanted to understand why things were the way they were, not just follow blindly. It seemed to me that if I wanted to understand God, truly understand Him, I had to understand everything around Him. And that meant looking into the darker side of things, the things they didn't talk about in church. It became clear to me that to grasp the full scope of good, I needed to learn about evil too. It wasn't about glorifying it, but about understanding the contrast. How could you truly know the light if you didn't understand the darkness? So I started digging into what they called forbidden knowledge. It wasn't about worshipping evil, but about seeing the forces that shaped the world, how Satan and his influence worked in parallel to God's. I realized that the more I looked into the shadows, the more I saw how intertwined everything really was. There was so much more beneath the surface than I had ever been taught. People were afraid to ask those questions, afraid to confront the possibility that there were deeper forces at play than just God and the Church's teachings. But the more I explored, the more it felt like I was uncovering pieces of a bigger puzzle. And for the first time, I felt like I was getting closer to the truth, even if it was uncomfortable or dangerous to confront. The deeper I dug, the more I realized that the Church had its own set of boundaries, limits on what was acceptable to ask, what was acceptable to know. Anything outside of that was labeled as heresy or evil, and I could feel the pressure to conform to their narrow view of the world. But the more I uncovered, the more I saw how these boundaries were keeping people in the dark, limiting their understanding of the true forces at work in the world. It was like the Church wanted us to stay in a state of ignorance, to keep our focus solely on God and not question the other aspects of reality that didn't fit into the traditional narrative. They'd tell you to stay away from the occult, from the study of the dark arts, and just trust in God's plan. But when I looked at how people who dabbled in the occult operated, how they seemed to understand certain spiritual laws and forces, I couldn't ignore the fact that there was power there, real power. I began to see that it wasn't about worshipping Satan or condemning others for seeking knowledge. It was about recognizing that in the spiritual realm, light and dark were two sides of the same coin. The more I explored both sides, the more I realized that true power, whether it came from God or from darker forces, was about understanding and mastering the forces that govern the world. And that understanding didn't come from blind faith. It came from asking the tough questions, facing the uncomfortable truths, and learning from every side of the equation. I wasn't trying to become evil. I wasn't trying to become something I wasn't. But I knew that if I ever wanted to truly understand God, I had to see the world for what it was: complex, layered, and full of forces that most people didn't even acknowledge. And maybe, just maybe, by understanding the darker side of things, I could better appreciate the light. It's crazy how most pastors spend so much time talking about the power of God, but when you really look at it, none of the people seem to understand what that power truly is. The whole thing feels hollow. Their main focus isn't on the spiritual transformation or the deeper understanding of God, but on money. Money, money, money. It's like that's the end goal for most people in the church. They're taught to believe that God will bless them with wealth if they just believe hard enough, but the moment they manifest that money, it doesn't go to any kind of real spiritual growth. It's going straight back to the church, to support the system that's already profiting from their belief. To me, this is all tied to something bigger, something that's not just about religion but about the law of attraction. We're taught that if we focus hard enough on something, whether it's money, success, or anything else, it will come to us. If you're looking for a powerful, thought-provoking read, check out Jeremy Tubbs' books on Google Play and Amazon. Jeremy Tubbs is not just an author. He's a true visionary who combines wisdom, spirituality, and insightful storytelling in a way that resonates with readers on a deep level. With a vast catalog that spans multiple genres, Jeremy delves into complex themes of faith, spirituality, ancient mysteries, and personal growth, inviting readers to explore both the known and the mysterious aspects of life. Each book in his growing collection is crafted with a unique perspective, often weaving together history, modern spirituality, and practical insights. Jeremy's style is clear and engaging, making profound ideas accessible to everyone, whether you're new to his work or have been a long-time follower. His books are also excellent for those who enjoy reflecting on life's deeper questions, finding inspiration, or exploring new dimensions of faith. Jeremy Tubbs' works are available on both Google Play and Amazon, making it easy for you to dive into his world and discover why so many readers have been captivated by his writing. Don't miss out on the chance to add his books to your collection. Order your copies today and take a step into the mind of a truly inspiring author.